Thank you both for being here today. The purpose of today's meeting is to gather some information so that I can put together a report called a Pre-Dispositional study, which will be submitted to the judge, your attorney, Nia, and the state's attorney, the prosecutor, so that the court can make an informed decision about the outcome of your case. Okay, so while we're meeting here today, we're going to be talking about some different areas of your life, including your current charges, your past court history, your medical history, your school experiences, your situation at home. I also want to hear about your relationships with your friends and your family, religious or cultural practices that you and your family may have, and whatever activities you may have participated in or be interested in participating in. Okay, do you have any questions about that?
No.
Okay. So Mr. Pantano, you and I met last week, and you completed the bio sheet and gave that back to me. Thank you very much. And we also talked about Nia's history as far as her medical history. You said she had no concerns of serious injuries or illnesses, no developmental concerns.
No, healthy.
Okay. So I asked you to be here today as well, to be present while Nia gives her statement about what happened regarding these charges. And I also want to hear about your feeling about Nia's court involvement. Okay? So why don't we go ahead, Nia, and start out with your statement. All right? You, at your plea hearing, admitted to breach of peace second degree and possession of a controlled substance less than 4 ounces of marijuana. Is that right?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm going to ask you to describe those incidents that led you to be involved with the court, and give me an idea of what was going on for you before, during, and after the arrest on that day.
Okay. Well, for the breach of peace, me and my friends were leaving school. We were just walking out, and a couple kids started making fun of one of my friends because he's gay, and I didn't want him to get made fun of, so I ended up getting in a fight with one of the students. And I was minding my business. I didn't want to fight, but I did, and I know I should have handled it a different way. I could have got a teacher or told somebody about it, but I ended up fighting and I got in trouble for it.
Okay. You said you could have handled it a different way by getting a teacher. Where would things have led if you would have done that?
Well, I wouldn't have got arrested, and I might have got made fun of by some kids for, being the snitch, but that would have been the smarter thing to do.
Okay. And regarding the possession of the controlled substance?
I was at my grandpa's house, and I wasn't really having a good day, and I saw that he had some pills, so I took some and put them in my bag and went to school with them. And I told one of my friends, and she said she wanted one, so I gave her one, but then she went and told the guidance counselor, and the teacher asked me about it. The principal came in, and they asked me if I had anything, and I said no, but then a police officer came and wanted to search my bag, and I didn't want them to, but he ended up grabbing one side of my purse when I was holding the other, and I fell down, but after I got up, I got arrested.
Okay. Is there anything more you'd like to add to either of those statements?
No, I feel like they were mistakes, and I could have done something else to prevent them, but it happened, and I am sorry that it happened, but just trying to move forward with it.
Okay. And what would it be like if you were able to move forward?
I'd like to not be in the court system and just be doing better for myself altogether.
Okay. Okay, thank you. Okay, so Mr. Pantano, while you are still in the room, I wanted to get your feeling on Nia's court involvement.
Well, this has been going on for quite a while. It's going back to when I filed the prison as well, the Beyond Control. the fight, I don't want to make light of it, but that's kind of Nia. She's very protective of her friends, kind of like that. And, she knows she's in there. But the whole thing with the pills, can't say that I'm surprised, but I'm really disappointed. This has been one of my concerns with her. There's been, drug use. I've suspected marijuana and alcohol. Now pills too. I mean, this is just, things are getting out of control with her.
Mm-hmm.
Things are out of control.
How would you like to see things with Nia?
Like they were. When she was in elementary school, I mean, she was a solid student. I mean, we had our issues and stuff. I mean, she's, can be a strong-minded kid, a little sassy and stuff, but she minded, and it seems like when she got to middle school is when things really started to fall apart. And then, of course, this year, the high school, it's just been steadily downhill.
Mm.
Skipping school, skipping classes, hanging out with older guys.
So you really noticed a change this year. What do you think that is resulting from?
I'm not sure. Like I said, I know she's hanging out with these older people, particularly older guys, and I think maybe they're influencing her. This year's been a huge turnaround, but even in middle school, I kind of started to notice some of those changes.
Okay. And what would you say some of Nia's strengths are?
Well, like I said, she's a good friend. She's will stick up for her friends. She's very loyal, and she's smart. She's even look at her now. When they put her in that self-contained program, and she was buckling down, A's and B's. And she was like that in elementary school, so she's very smart.
Mm-hmm.
She's very capable, doing well.
Okay. At this point, if you feel like something with Nia could change, what would you like that to be?
Just to kind of get back to where she was, be the kid who she was, stop hanging out with all these older kids. I mean, she has some good friends, and I'd like to see her spend more time with those friends than with these older kids she's been hanging out with. And just for us to be able to communicate better. I'm a yeller too, so I mean, I know I have some part in this. I'm not the easiest person to communicate with, and I work long hours, so it was hard. I'm a single dad. I got 2 kids, and trying to keep a roof over all our heads, and
You're trying to do your part.
yeah, I don't want to. I'm trying to make sure she doesn't end up like her mom, and I know she'd get mad when she hears me say that, but I just don't want her to see in that situation. A young mother with all different kinds of kids and no means of support, and that whole situation.
So you don't necessarily like what's been happening with Nia over the last year. You've seen a lot of changes with her. A different set of friends that she has, particularly older friends. You'd like to see her get back to how she used to be. But I also hear you saying that you're taking some responsibility, you're working a lot. It almost sounds like you want to be there a little bit more for her and work on your relationship. Is that right?
Well, I'm certainly willing to do that, and it's hard. I own my own business, and I'm out of the house before 6. A lot of times I'm not even home till after 6. But I'm willing to give it a shot. Willing to work. We started with MST. I'm willing to keep doing that. I mean, I'm a little concerned. She had that 2-week respite, and things were good for a little while. But I see some of those old habits coming back, so I'm kind of.
You said things were good for a little while during the respite. Can you tell me a little bit more?
I mean, even after the respite, when she
Yeah.
came home, she kind of was on point with things, going to school, doing her schoolwork, not taking off from the house, going out, staying out late, and things like that. So it seemed like that kind of made a difference.
Mm-hmm.
Now I see some things sliding back towards, the sneaking out and talking to talking to whoever on the telephone kind of thing.
So really you feel fearful for her safety?
Definitely, absolutely. She's a bright, attractive young girl, and she doesn't have a mom in her life on a regular basis, and I'm working a lot of hours, so I'm just kind of concerned about that and the kinds of decisions that she makes.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And how would it feel for you if she made better decisions?
Be a big relief. I could be at work and not be stressed out, worrying about the next phone call coming from the school or the police or whoever. You know, and maybe then we'd even get along better at home. You know, those times when I do come home, and there wouldn't be all that stress about what you do today, what did you do, that kind of stuff.
Okay. Well, I appreciate your honesty. Thank you very much. I think at this point, if you wouldn't mind, I'm going to spend some time with Nia, and I'll call you back in after. Thank you. So let's talk about your court history.
Okay.
Okay. Tell me about any court involvement that you've had before these charges.
I had to come in because I ran away and I was beyond control.
When you say beyond control, what do you mean? I know Dad filed the wasn't beyond control, but what do you think that means, being beyond control?
Probably just that he was having a hard time with me not following directions at home and coming and going as I pleased. So I think that's what it was.
Okay. Okay, so the poison. Anything else?
No.
Okay. Why do you think your dad was so concerned that he filed the poison? What was he concerned about?
Probably about me staying out late, leaving the house and coming home at times he didn't approve of, and also not following his directions at home.
Okay. How often were you staying out late? How many times a week do you think?
Probably like 3.
And where were you going during those times?
I was going to my friend's house.
Male, female friend?
Male.
Okay. Older, younger?
Older.
And what was your relationship with that person?
Just a friend. I haven't really had any real relationships with guys.
Okay. Any other charges in the past that you've had?
No.
Okay. Can you describe any time that you've had to live outside of your home?
I was in a care program for 2 weeks one time. That was the only time I wasn't in my home, and I was there and did some counseling and stuff, and it was pretty helpful.
In what ways?
Just helped me get some better ideas of how to manage my anger and how to be more productive in community and stuff.
Okay. How were you handling your anger before going there?
I was yelling. I yell a lot, throw things around sometimes, mostly just swearing and yelling.
Okay. And how did that affect how things were going at home, your swearing and yelling?
It hasn't been good, I know that. Me and my dad often argue a lot, so it's just something we're used to doing.
That's usually how you resolve any conflicts that you have?
Yeah.
Has there ever been a time where you've tried any other approach when you don't agree with Dad?
Sometimes I'll just go to my room and listen to music or something to calm myself down.
Okay. Looking back, what do you think got you into trouble to begin with the court?
I think it was just the people I hang around with. Most of my friends are older than me, so no one's really my age, and just hanging around older people has gotten me into trouble, and they've been in trouble with the court too, so.
So your friends are court involved as well?
Yes.
Okay. What would be different if you hung out with a different set of friends?
If I hung out with different people, I think maybe they would be more positive people to be around, and I'd make better decisions because I wouldn't be around people who are getting into trouble with police, and it would just be better for me.
Okay. At this point, I would like to move on and talk about your medical history.
Okay.
Okay. Anything that you're not comfortable answering, just let me know.
Okay.
All right. How was your health growing up when you were younger?
My health was fine. I was healthy. I never was on any medication or anything.
Okay. And what would you say your health is like now?
I think my health's fine, but my dad sometimes makes fun of me because he thinks I'm fat and unhealthy because he works out a lot and stuff like that. So, but I think I'm healthy, and I've been trying to eat better to make him happy.
To make your dad happy?
Mhm.
What would make you happy?
Well, I think that I'm pretty happy. Besides being involved with court, I'm a pretty happy person.
What's court getting in the way of for you right now?
A lot of stuff. Just being able to be out with my friends. A lot of times I'm in the house, and just things like that.
Mm-hmm. So you have different limitations now that you're court involved.
Yeah.
Okay. Getting back to your medical, can you tell me a little bit about the doctors that you may have seen in the past?
I've just seen regular doctors. I haven't seen any real specialized doctors for anything.
Okay. And Dad provided a bio sheet I mentioned earlier when Dad was in the room, and he reports that your last physical was at the beginning of last year.
Mhm.
Is that about accurate, at the beginning of the school year?
Yes.
Okay, and how about your last dental visit?
It was around the same time.
Okay. And he says that you're going to Dr. Smith on Main Street?
Yes.
Okay. That's at the Community Health Center?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and do you also go to the dentist at the Community Health Center?
Yes.
I remember, okay,
Yeah.
all right. Has there ever been a time that you've had to go to the hospital for anything? Any serious injuries?
No, not for serious injuries, but when I got arrested, I had to go to the hospital, and they evaluated me and released me the same day. So.
Okay, and did anyone talk with you about what the recommendations were during that time?
Not that I could remember.
Okay. Has there been a time where you've talked with a counselor in the past about your feelings?
Well, I'm involved in the MST program,
Mm-hmm.
and I've been going there for about maybe 6 months now, and that's been going well.
What do you like about it?
I like that. Well, I like the individual counseling because it really focuses on my issues and what I could do to cope with my feelings and my anger. But the family therapy has been pretty helpful too.
Mm-hmm.
So we all get to talk and tell each other how we feel and how we could work on being a better communicating family.
Mm-hmm. And how has that helped your relationship with your dad and your brother at home?
It's helped a little bit. I think that there's still a lot that needs to be worked on, but there's been a little bit of a change, so.
Mm-hmm. What other things would you like to work on?
Just our communication and how to be more positive with each other instead of yelling all the time and being mean to each other.
Mm-hmm. And in what ways would that impact other areas of your life, like school, your friends?
Well, I think if things were better at home, it might encourage me to do better outside of home, like do better in school and maybe try to find some more positive people to be around outside of the home.
Mm-hmm. Okay. What medications have been prescribed in the past for you, if any?
I haven't had any.
Okay. And you talked a little bit earlier about your anger. A couple times you mentioned your anger. What happens for you when you're angry?
I just, it's just kind of, I get angry very easily. I just throw things around and just scream and throw a fit.
What does that mean for you, throwing a fit?
Just throwing things around, kicking stuff, not hurting myself, but just maybe pushing tables over, finding some way to get my anger out.
Okay. You mentioned not hurting yourself. Has there ever been a time where you thought about hurting yourself in any way?
No.
Okay. What about fighting? Have you gotten into any fights in the past?
Not in the past. It was only this one time
Mhm.
at school, but
None before that?
no.
Okay. If you had to describe your mood during most days, what would that be?
I'd say it would be anxious, just because I never really know when I'm going to be arguing with my dad or getting into trouble for something. So I never know what to expect a lot of times.
Okay. Is there anything else that makes you feel that way?
Not really.
When you get anxious, what helps you to feel better?
Usually just listening to music or drawing or something like that.
Okay. Anything else that you can think of?
Not really. Well, I know sometimes I'll smoke a cigarette or something. That usually calms me down. I do smoke marijuana, but it's mostly on the weekends,
Okay.
not during the week.
Mostly on the weekends. All right, so let's take some time to talk about that. When was the first time that you started using any substance at all? How old were you?
I was 14.
Okay, and what did you use at that time?
I used marijuana, tobacco, and alcohol.
Anything else?
There was only 1 or 2 times that you tried ecstasy, so.
When you were 14?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. If we can just take a second to go through those substances that you listed. Smoking marijuana, do you smoke by yourself or with your friends?
With my friends.
Okay. And how many times a week?
2 to 3.
Okay. And how do you smoke it? In what form?
Well, my friend has a bowl that we smoke out of, so usually that.
Okay. And what about tobacco?
Um,
How often do you smoke cigarettes?
I smoke cigarettes probably four times a week, maybe 4 to 5.
And alcohol?
That's on the weekends too, so about 2 to 3 times a week.
All right. And you mentioned ecstasy.
Mm-hmm.
How often do you use ecstasy?
And there was only once.
Okay. Any other substances?
No.
Okay. When was the last time that you used any of these substances?
Well, I smoked a cigarette yesterday, and the last time I drank or smoked marijuana was last weekend.
Okay. And what was the longest period of time that you've gone without using anything?
Maybe 2 weeks.
And what was that like to go 2 weeks without using any substances?
It wasn't too bad. It wasn't that bad. It wasn't anything that caused stress for me or anything.
So you weren't feeling stressed at the time, and you decided to not use. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
Okay. What else helped you to not use for those 2 weeks?
Well, a couple of my friends weren't around either that I usually would smoke with, so them not being around, I didn't really have the option to anyway. So.
Okay. What has been the worst part for you about using drugs?
Probably just the the looks and the things people say about me. Like sometimes people could tell that I've used drugs because my eyes will be red or something, and people will look at me funny. And just probably the conflict it's caused with my dad.
That's been the worst part.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Can you tell me a little bit about what you would do to get drugs?
Well, the people that I hang out with usually always have it because they're older than me. So it wasn't too much I had to do, but I know sometimes I would like maybe sleep with a guy and he would give me drugs, mostly the people that I hung out with. So
You made some pretty serious sacrifices in order to get drugs,
yeah.
sounds like. What has been the consequence for you by doing that?
Well, it kind of made me feel bad, and I don't feel that I had to do that, but I did, and it's just something that I'm dealing with now.
Something that you did in the past, you're dealing with now, but are you still making those choices to get drugs?
No, I don't have to much anymore. I still, there's guys that I sleep with, but it's not really for that.
Okay.
So,
Pretty much what I'm hearing from you is you do see some benefits in stopping. You talked a lot about changing your relationship with your dad. You've made some choices to change your friends who you're hanging out with in effort to stop using. And you talked about not really affecting school so much, but really impacting your family, and that's really your motivation right now, to cut down.
right.
Okay. Can you tell me a little bit about your eating habits?
Well, I've been trying to eat better to make my father happy because him and my brother pick on me, and I figure if I try to eat better, then maybe he won't have so much to say about me being overweight.
Okay. What changes are you making? You say eating better.
Just eating healthier food. Not eating junk food all the time, but trying to eat fruit and like vegetables with my dinner, just little things like that.
Okay. And tell me a little bit more about Dad's interactions regarding your eating. I know you mentioned earlier he's kind of a stickler about being healthy. So talk a little bit more about that.
He eats healthy, and my brother does for the most part, so I'm the only one that's a little plumper in the family, I guess. So I've just been trying to do better for him, really.
How would you like Dad to see you?
Probably a little thinner and just making being more conscientious. I don't know how to pronounce the word, but more aware of what I eat and maybe exercising a little more.
That's what you would like for yourself?
I was fine with the way I was. It's just for my dad.
So it really seems like you want Dad to see you for who you are, the way you are.
Right.
Okay. And what would it be like if he could do that?
It would be a lot less stressful because he wouldn't be so worried about what I look like and just accept me for who I am.
Okay. And that would improve your relationship?
Yes.
Okay. What about sleeping? Do you have any difficulty sleeping?
No.
Okay. Was there ever a time where anyone hurt or touched you in a way you didn't like?
No.
Okay. Move on and talk about school.
Okay.
Okay. In the past, what has school been like for you?
Um, well, in the past, I was kind of skipping class a lot, just hanging out with my friends instead of going to school, so I wasn't doing too well before, but I was in this self-contained classroom,
Mm-hmm.
and that went pretty well. The teacher was really helpful, and I was able to talk to him about anything, and he really encouraged me to get good grades, so that was good.
You had a pretty good relationship with the teacher.
Yeah.
How did you find yourself in that class? What things were
Um,
happening?
It was due to me missing school before, and just all the, skips and tardies and stuff I had that built up, I guess. They put me in this classroom because they thought it would be better for me and a little more structured.
Mm-hmm. And how has it been since you've been there?
It's been good. I really enjoy going. My grades have been good. So
What do you think made the difference for you?
I think it was less distraction there and more one-on-one attention
Mhm.
that was good for me, and the teacher's encouragement. So
Okay. You mentioned in the past skipping some classes and hanging out with your friends. What kinds of things would you do during the day?
I'd go get my nails done. I'd just go to their house and watch TV or be on the computer or anything like that.
Mm-hmm. But now you find yourself actually getting to class.
Right.
Okay. And how has that helped you?
It's been helpful. It's nice to have something positive for me since this court's kind of been a negative. At least I'm doing well in school now, and that's something that I'm not going to be getting scolded about from my parents or anyone.
It's important for you to have positive feedback from them.
Right.
And school seems like it's been an area where they're happy with you about that.
Yes.
Okay. Talk to me a little bit about your relationships with your teachers and friends.
Well, the one teacher, Mr. Navasky, he's been really good. I haven't really had major issues with my teachers before. And my friends, I only have a couple friends at school that I hang out with and eat lunch with and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
But they've been positive for me too. So
In what ways?
just not court involved, and they get good grades too, so that kind of helps me to maintain my grades and keep doing well.
Okay. So somewhere along the line, you made a choice to change your peer group.
Yes.
Why was that?
Well, the older people I hang out with, I've known for a little while, so I'm just used to being around them. But my friends in school and my friends outside of school are different, and I kind of wish that I had more friends like the ones in school to be around.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Okay. Can you talk to me about how much time you spend doing your homework during the week?
I usually spend probably maybe 45 minutes to an hour a day on homework.
That's great.
So I'm home a lot, and I make sure my homework's done before I do anything else.
And how does that help you at school?
It helps keep me organized and on task, and I don't fall behind in any of my classes because I've been paying attention and doing the work I need to do to follow along with the group and stuff.
So you've made some pretty good changes regarding your grades and even your study habits. How do you feel now compared to how it used to be for you? In the past, you struggled a little bit regarding your grades.
It feels good. I'm proud of myself that I'm able to do well in school, and I know that my parents are happy too, so that makes me feel good.
Mm-hmm. How do your parents feel about school? What is their attitude towards school?
My mom encourages me to do well, and my dad expects me to do well, so they both give me encouragement and really push me to keep doing what I'm doing.
Mm-hmm. Why do you think they do that?
they just, they want to see me do good, and they ultimately want the best for me, so.
You talked a little bit about your behavior at school. I would like to hear a little bit more about that.
I don't really have many behavioral issues at school. I just go to class and I don't argue with my teachers or pick fights with students. I just go there and do what I have to do and go home.
Mm-hmm. Okay. If you could change anything about school, what would that be?
Probably the peers there, the people there, just because a lot of people are like bullies and make fun of my friends and me sometimes, so I just wish that the people were a little nicer. But the teachers are pretty good, and the work isn't too hard for me, so it's just probably the kids there.
And how have you been dealing with those people that are not so nice?
It's not very often that somebody's mean to me, but sometimes I'll go to my guidance counselor and talk to her about it.
Okay, great. What goals do you have regarding school?
I just want to graduate, and after I graduate, I'd like to go to college and study to become a police officer.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Okay. You've given some thought to that.
Mm-hmm.
Have you thought about what steps you have to take to become a police officer?
Well, I know I'd have to really start changing my behaviors, because if I keep getting arrested, they're not going to want me as a police officer when I've been dealing with them when I was young and everything, so I just have to take more positive steps to do that.
Okay. Let's talk a little bit about how you're spending your free time.
Okay.
Okay. After school, what's a typical after-school day for you?
After school, I'm usually home doing homework, or listening to music or watching TV or something.
Okay.
Don't really do too much after school.
And what about the weekends?
The weekends I'm out with my friends, so
What are you doing with your friends on the weekends?
nothing good, just smoking and drinking with them. So we don't really do too much besides that, and sometimes go to the mall or something, but that's about it.
And how does your dad feel about that?
He doesn't like it at all. He really would prefer me be home, but on weekends I like to just go and do my own thing. So he's not really too fond of that.
What are the consequences of being with your friends on the weekends and your dad not liking that?
Arguments, yelling at each other, and then sometimes he'll put me on punishment where I'll be grounded for a couple days with no TV or phone or anything.
So it seems like hanging out with your friends on the weekend is getting in the way of your relationship with your dad, and it's impacting what you're able to do after school as well.
Right.
What about responsibilities at home? What kinds of things are you responsible to take care of in the house?
I have to make sure my room is clean. I do the dishes. Sometimes me and my brother are supposed to rotate, but I usually end up doing them more. And take the garbage out sometimes, just usual household chores.
And what kind of rules do you have to follow at home?
Supposed to be respectful and polite. Try not to argue and be more respectful with my dad. And keep my music down. That's about it.
What's your dad's reaction when you're following the rules?
He's a lot more happier with me when I listen to what he says, but yeah, it's a lot more easygoing between us when I follow the rules.
And how do you feel when he's easygoing and happy with you?
I feel good. not really used to that, but it's a lot better feeling than him always being down my throat about something, so.
Okay. Your dad mentioned that there have been times where you've stayed away from home for periods of time he didn't know where you were. Tell me a little bit about that.
Sometimes when me and my dad argue, I'll just go to my friend's house for a day or two. And I know one time I went to my mom's without him knowing and he got upset, so it's mostly just with my friends, so I'll go to their house instead if I don't want to be around him.
Okay. What are some of the reasons that you leave home to begin with?
Just the arguing all the time and how strict he is. It's just really annoying, and I'd rather not be around it sometimes.
Mm-hmm. So if there was less arguing, you'd be more likely to stay home?
Yeah.
Okay. You mentioned throughout our conversation a lot of different things that could cut down on the arguing.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. If you can be involved in any activities at all, what would you like to be involved in?
Maybe a dance class. I like dancing, so dance class, horseback riding, and I wanted to do the Police Explorers program, but since I got arrested, I wasn't able to do it.
Those are all things that we can talk about and work on getting involved in the
Okay.
future, if that's what you would like, okay?
All right.
Okay. Loyalty is a very good quality. It's something that your dad even mentioned in a prior meeting, that you are a very good friend to the friends around you.
Mm-hmm.
I'm interested to hear a little bit more about that. If you had a friend who was going to do something wrong, going to commit a crime or break the law, what would your advice be to them?
I'd probably try to tell them that it's not the right thing to do, but ultimately if they make that decision, it's their choice.
Mm-hmm.
And there's not too much I could do about it.
Okay. How involved would you become if you were with them when they were making those choices?
At this point, I don't really think that I'd help them do whatever they're going to do to get into trouble. I might be there, but I'm not going to have a part in it.
Okay. All right. What about religion? What role does religion play in your life?
I'm not religious. I don't go to church or anything, so
Okay.
my family's never really done that.
All right. How would you describe your cultural background?
I'm a little bit of everything, but I know I'm pretty interested in learning more about my Italian culture, so that's something that I'd be interested in as well.
How would you go about doing that?
Maybe I'd like to take a class on the language, maybe try to speak Italian, and maybe cooking, because I know my grandma makes a pasta sauce, and I'd like to learn how to make that too.
Okay. What other things do your family do together that kind of demonstrates your culture?
Well, I know sometimes they have like Italian festivals we'll go to together, and different like fairs and things we could go to learn more about our culture.
Mm-hmm. And why is it important for you to learn more about your history, your culture?
Well, it's interesting just because it's neat to see like where you came from and your background and stuff, so I'm interested in that.
Okay. How would you describe your relationship with your dad?
My relationship with my dad isn't that great because he's very strict with me, and we just argue a lot. We don't see eye to eye on a lot of things.
Mm-hmm. And what usually happens as a result of your arguing?
We Well, sometimes I'll leave, or I know there was one time where he got upset with me and pulled my hair, but I called DCF, so
You called DCF yourself?
yeah, I did.
And what ended up happening?
They just closed it out. Nothing really happened from it, but we don't physically fight or anything like that. We just argue a lot.
Okay, so that was the only time that he ever physically touched you or hurt you?
Yes.
Okay. Has there ever been a time where any other family members have hurt or touched you in a way that you didn't like or you weren't comfortable with,
No.
physically or sexually?
No.
Okay. And has there been a time where you've ever hurt anyone physically or sexually?
No, there hasn't.
Okay. If you could, what would you change about your relationship with your dad?
I'd just like for us to communicate more openly and try to understand one another a little better.
Okay. And what was your relationship like at its best with your dad? Ever a time that you got along well with him?
It was when I was younger, when I was in like elementary and middle school, when I wasn't really surrounded by the people I'm surrounded with now, where I was doing what he wanted and things were fine with us then.
And somewhere along the line that changed.
Mm-hmm.
How do you typically react to Dad's rules?
I just think that he's just too strict with everything. I feel like he wants me to do what he wants me to do, and that's it, and I can't live my own life, and I really get annoyed with him about it.
You wish he would loosen up a little bit.
Yeah.
Okay. Has there ever been a time you've been able to get over on him? As far as the rules, have you ever been able to manipulate the rules with Dad?
No. He's very stern, and what he says goes. And that's how he wants it to be, but I'm not always following what he says to do.
Okay. What about Mom? What's your relationship like with Mom?
Mom's really laid back. She lets me do what I want to do, and she doesn't really ask too much of me.
And how often are you around Mom?
Not often. I rarely see her because my dad doesn't want me going over there.
But it sounds like you want to see her.
Yeah, I would like to see her more, but I know I definitely wouldn't be able to live with her because she is just like more of a friend than my mom.
So the rule setting seems very different. Your
Yeah.
dad compared to your mom.
Yeah, it is.
And you see benefits almost in having rules from what you're saying.
Yeah.
What are those for you?
Well, I think every child needs rules, and my mom doesn't really have any. My dad does, but his are really extreme, so I think if me and my dad could just find a way to, if I could find a way to get him to loosen up just a little bit, I'll still be more than willing to follow his rules, just a little less strict.
So you don't mind following the rules if they're a little less strict right now?
Yeah.
Okay. Does anyone in your family have a history of counseling or mental health concerns?
No. No one that I know of does.
What about substance use?
My mom smokes cigarettes, but that's all that I know she does.
Okay. And what about domestic violence? Have you ever witnessed your parents physically fighting or anyone in the house physically fighting?
No.
And anyone in your family have a history of jail, being incarcerated?
Nope.
All right. We talked a little bit earlier about trauma, events that happen in kids' lives that are difficult to deal with. Can you think of anything like that that's happened for you?
I haven't really dealt with anything traumatic in my life, so no.
Okay. All right, and you mentioned DCF. Was that the only DCF involvement
Yes.
with your family?
Mhm.
If you could take a minute to just look in the future, 3 years from now, where do you see yourself regarding your family?
Well, in 3 years, I would hope that maybe we would complete family therapy and be better communicating with each other, and really, me and my dad really start to have an understanding for one another and be able to have a successful relationship.
And where does Mom fit into that?
Well, I would hope that me and Mom might be able to see each other a little more too. But since I'm living with my dad, they kind of have to work that out, all of us together, and see what we could do with that. But I'd like to see her more too.
Okay. Great. We spent a lot of time talking about different areas of your life, but I'm interested to hear about your strengths. I heard a lot of them throughout our conversation, but what would you say your strengths are?
My strengths would be that I'm a good friend, I'm a good student, I'm pretty honest about what I do, so that's good. And I like music and stuff like that, so I'm pretty outgoing. That's mostly what I can think of right now.
And if you had to talk about your weaknesses, what would those be?
My weaknesses would be my anger. That would be one. My court involvement, because that's a weakness for me. And my substance abuse.
And you were very honest in kind of really talking about each one of those areas and how they are interfering in different areas of your life. And I appreciate that. You know, it's difficult to sit with someone who you really don't know too well and give all that information.
Right. Okay.
Okay? And I really appreciate your time today.
Okay.
All right. Thank you,
You're welcome.
Anna, for coming back in.
Sure.
I just have some information I wanted to fill in. I asked Mia a lot of questions, but I didn't hear a lot about her mom. So I wonder if you'd be willing to give me some information about Mom.
Sure, whatever I can.
Okay. What was your relationship like with her?
With Mom? We were kids ourselves when we met. I mean, we were both teenagers, and before you know, we had 2 kids of our own. And yeah, we never married. We were together off and on, off and on. I mean, we were young. And when when Joe Jr. was about 4, it's when she got involved with some guy, and he was abusive. DCF got involved, and that's when I ended up with the kids, with Joe Jr. and with Nia. She was 2.
Okay.
And you know, we haven't had any relationship with each other since then.
No contact, or?
I mean, a little bit here and there about the kids, but I really don't like the kids seeing her anyway. She's just not in a good place.
Okay. All right. Can you tell me a little bit about her history, as far as her work history?
I mean, she doesn't even work now, I don't believe. I don't really know, but she's never really had what you call a job. She's waitressed here and there and stuff, but she's got 7 kids. She doesn't really have the ability or time to work.
Right. Right. And what about any substance abuse?
Yeah, she wasn't really a substance abuser. She's got some mental issues. I mean, she's very volatile, kind of unpredictable. But not that I'm aware of. No substance abuse that I was ever aware of.
Okay. Do you know anything more? You mentioned mental health issues. Do you know anything more about that?
Not specifically. I mean, I know she's been on medications and in and out of counseling. I think she was even hospitalized once or twice a few years ago. But I mean, her parents, Nia's grandparents, would know more about that than I do.
Okay. And maybe later you can provide some contact information for them.
Sure.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
If you wouldn't mind giving me the same information about you, your work history.
Well, I've pretty much been in construction since, I dropped out of high school when I was in ninth grade, and I call my uncle, but he's really my godfather. He worked for a company, he got me in there, and I've kind of just been working that ever since. And about, I don't know, it's been about 14 years now I've had my own business.
Wow.
For the last 14 years.
You mentioned earlier that it takes up a lot of your time.
Yeah, I'm out early and I'm in late, and even when I get home, I got to return phone calls about other potential jobs, and might even have to zip back out to go look at a job, kind of thing. So, yeah, being a businessman takes up a lot of time.
But it sounds like you worked hard to get where you are.
Yeah, I've worked hard. I built up a good reputation. I have a lot of repeat customers. People, I don't do any advertising. I just, most of my work's right in Middletown because people know me. I've lived here my whole life.
That's great. What about your history of substance use?
Yeah, well, when I was younger, when I was a kid, I did a lot of drinking, no doubt. I mean, I still drink now, but nothing like I used to when I was a teenager, even in my early 20s. I could put them away pretty good, but that was it. I never messed around with anything else.
And any history of physical abuse or domestic violence in your family?
No. We're yellers, we talk with our hands a lot and yell a lot, but no, we don't get physical.
Okay. Okay, I think that I have all the information I need. So this concludes our meeting for today, and I appreciate your honesty throughout the meeting. I know that's not easy to do. We've gathered some pretty good information about different areas of your lives, and based on that information, I'm going to be making a recommendation of 6 months of probation with continued MST services in the home. You both have my card, so if you have any questions or concerns that come up, please feel free to give me a call. Okay? Thank you very much.